is a woman you may not notice at first. She doesn't chase attention. She doesn't beg for love. She doesn't even seem to care whether you're looking or not. But it's precisely that. The silence, the stillness, the effortless control that pulls you in like a black hole. Carl Jung wouldn't have called her evil. He never used such simple words. Instead, he'd describe her as an archetype, a living symbol of unconscious energy. She is Anima gone wrong, the woman every man projects his soul into. But if you're not conscious of it, that soul, your soul, will be swallowed. She is the one woman every man should avoid. But you won't. Not at first. You'll think she's mysterious. You'll confuse her distance for depth, her unpredictability for passion. You'll believe the way she disappears and reappears means something profound is happening, when really, your psyche is playing tricks on you. You won't realize that what you've fallen for isn't her. It's your own unconscious crying out. This is what Jung warned us about, not just in women, but in ourselves. Because to truly understand the one woman you must avoid, you first have to understand the one woman living inside your mind. The anima, the female within the male, the shape of your emotional world, your fantasies, your longings, your suffering. And she doesn't live in your conscious mind. She lives below, where you never look, where your boyhood wounds fester. She is not a woman in the world. She is a woman of the psyche. But when you meet her reflection in real life, in the flesh, she feels divine, untouchable, fated. But she is not fate. She is a test. The woman you should avoid isn't toxic. She's unconscious, and she makes you unconscious. When you speak, she listens with half an ear. When you open up, she mirrors your emotions, but never reveals hers. When you love her, she stays just out of reach. And when you finally confront her with your truth, she smiles, like you're speaking a language she no longer understands. But you can't leave, because she activates something ancient inside you. A part of you that wants to prove you're worthy of the very love she withholds. The part of you that still believes love must be earned through suffering. That part of you is the boy. Jung said every man's journey involves a confrontation with the anima. She appears as a goddess, then a seductress, then a manipulator, and finally, if you integrate her, a guide. But if you don't, she becomes your obsession and your destruction. Let's not flatter ourselves. This isn't about her. It never was. This is about what you projected onto her. You saw her and imagined someone who would finally understand you without words. You imagined she could heal your silence. You believed she had the depth you were missing. You didn't fall in love with a person. You fell in love with a symbol, a psychic mirror, a myth. This is why it hurts so much. Because when she leaves, or worse, when she stays but remains emotionally out of reach, it's not just heartbreak. It's soul loss. You feel like a part of you is dying. And it is. The part of you that needed her. The part of you that still believed love must be chased. That intimacy must feel like anxiety. That love is pain, distance, tension, longing, not peace. You see, that woman wasn't dangerous because of who she was. She was dangerous because of who you became in her presence. Your mind started to orbit around her approval. Your identity shifted. Your masculinity twisted into performance. You started walking on eggshells, afraid to lose a connection that never truly existed. Because unconscious love is a game of illusions, and the Anima is the greatest illusion of all. But this is your opportunity. Right now, you are in the underworld, the place Jung called the shadow realm, the psyche's dark basement. You're not supposed to feel good here. You're supposed to wake up. You've met the woman you should avoid, not because she's evil, but because she's unfinished inside you. She is the undeveloped part of your emotional world. She represents all the feelings you've avoided, the nurturing, the warmth, the need for unconditional love that you never gave yourself. And so you projected it outward. You gave it a face. You made her into a goddess, then blamed her when she didn't act divine. But this is your work now, not hers. To reclaim your Anima, to take back what you gave away. It begins when you stop chasing. It begins when you see her for what she is. Not a dream, but a distraction from your own healing. Jung said that projection ends where ownership begins. So ask yourself, where in your life are you still begging for validation from a woman who doesn't even see you? Where are you confusing silence for mystery? Where are you calling neglect passion? This isn't just a relationship problem. It's a soul problem. The one woman you should avoid is the one you seek out when you're not whole, when your masculinity is brittle, when your emotional world is starved, when your self-respect is asleep. But you don't need to stay in this pattern. The moment you see it, you're no longer under its spell. And if this resonates, if you've felt this, I invite you to subscribe. This channel is for men waking up. And I want to hear your story in the comments. Because if you've met this woman, then you've already taken the first step. You've seen the illusion. Now it's time to break it. You still think about her, not in words, but in fragments. A look that stayed too long. A message left unanswered. A moment where her presence felt like fate and punishment at the same time. You don't miss her. You miss the man you thought you were when you were around her. The man you tried to become, silently, desperately, just to earn a single drop of her approval. Jung called this the inflation of the ego. When we chase symbols instead of truth. When we assign sacred meaning to people who were never meant to carry it. And yet, here you are, still caught in the web, still asking yourself, was it real? Let's be honest. Yes, something was real. The ache, the longing, the obsessive self-reflection. But what you thought was love was actually projection. You didn't fall for her. You fell for a hidden part of yourself, dressed in her skin. And the more she ignored you, the more you believed she was the answer. Because only the wounded boy inside you would interpret avoidance as value. She was the echo of your emotional abandonment. The one woman every man should avoid isn't always obvious. She might not be cruel. She might not be loud. She might, in fact, be polite, beautiful, even spiritual. But underneath, something is off. She doesn't see you. Not really. She sees what you can give. She sees what you reflect back. She sees your hunger, and she feeds it just enough to keep you hungry. And if you're not conscious, you'll call that love. But love doesn't leave you guessing. It doesn't punish your honesty with silence. It doesn't disappear when you're vulnerable, only to return when you're indifferent. No, that's not love. That's trauma, disguised as desire. Jung warned us, if we don't make the unconscious conscious, it will rule our lives, and we will call it fate. You called her fate, didn't you? You told yourself it meant something. The synchronicities, the timing, the chemistry, it all felt too deep to be random. But here's the truth you've been avoiding. Just because something feels intense doesn't mean it's right. Sometimes the deepest wounds scream the loudest, and you mistake their screams for passion. You mistake anxiety for excitement. You mistake emotional unavailability for divine timing. And this is where your real suffering begins, because you'll start to change. You'll dim your light to not overwhelm her. You'll censor your truth to not push her away. You'll wait for messages that never come. You'll replay conversations in your mind, wondering if you said too much or too little. This isn't love. This is identity erosion. You become smaller, quieter, more agreeable, less you. Because deep down, you believe if you're just enough, she'll finally choose you. But that hope is a lie, because she was never choosing you. She was choosing control. And now you're addicted to a version of yourself that only exists around her. A performative man, a spiritual actor, a placeholder. You became a placeholder for the attention she gives herself when she's bored. And Jung would say, this is the moment, the exact moment where individuation must begin. The separation of your true self from the false projections you've placed on others. The painful extraction of your soul from illusions. But individuation is brutal, because it requires you to see that you are never really in love. You are in need. And need is not connection. Need is dependency. It's spiritual hunger masquerading as romance. Let's go deeper. There's a reason you were drawn to her. Somewhere in your emotional memory, she reminded you of someone. Maybe it was a mother who loved inconsistently. Maybe a first crush who made you feel invisible. Maybe the part of you that still believes peace is boring, and chaos is passion. You didn't choose her. Your nervous system did. And now you're waking up. The one woman you should avoid isn't just her. It's what she represents. The woman you chase when you are not anchored in yourself. The woman who pulls you into your own shadow and makes you confuse, drowning for depth. You see, the Anima, when unintegrated, is a trickster. She appears divine, but speaks in riddles. She tempts, but never commits. She opens you emotionally, only to vanish when you reveal your truth. And the deeper you go, the more you lose sight of what's real. You begin to chase the feeling of her, not the person. And what is the feeling? Longing, tension, emptiness. You're addicted to a woman who makes you feel almost loved, because almost reminds you of home. Not the home you lived in, but the home you survived. The place where love was earned through pleasing, fixing, performing, apologizing. And this is where the masculine spirit breaks. Because instead of leading with presence, you start to follow emotional breadcrumbs. Instead of speaking from truth, you start calculating your value. Instead of loving from overflow, you love from fear. But here's the brutal, healing truth. You don't want her. You want closure. You want confirmation that you mattered. You want redemption for the part of you she never acknowledged. But you will never get it, because she cannot give you what she does not have. She is emotionally malnourished. And now, so are you. And that's why it hurts. Not because you lost her, but because you lost yourself trying to be enough for her. This is your turning point. You can either spiral into deeper projection, blaming her, chasing her, romanticizing her absence, or you can begin the descent into your own soul. You can stop asking why she treated you that way and start asking why you tolerated it, why your heart believed this was love, why your body never felt safe, but you stayed anyway. And when you sit with that, truly sit with it, the illusion starts to crack, not in anger, not in hate, but in grief. You grieve the story you told yourself. You grieve the years you spent trying to earn the love of a woman who couldn't love herself. You grieve the man you were, soft, desperate, aching, and you honor him, because he was just trying to find wholeness. He was just trying to come home. But now it's time to find a new home, inside yourself. This is what Jung meant by integration, not rejecting the Anima, but facing her, bringing her into consciousness, owning the parts of you she once activated, the nurturing, the creativity, the sensitivity, the emotional depth. These are not things you need to seek in another. They are already in you, waiting, dormant. You don't need to be chosen. You need to awaken. The one woman you must avoid was never your enemy. She was your mirror. And now that you've seen her clearly, you are no longer blind. There's a silence that arrives after awakening. Not the silence of loneliness, but the silence of clarity. It doesn't shout. It doesn't ache. It simply whispers. You see now. You see what you gave away. You see what you chased. You see the entire theater of your obsession. And for the first time, you step off the stage. This is the part Jung never romanticized, the empty hallway between illusion and transformation, where the woman you once worshipped begins to fade, not with anger, not with bitterness, but with the simple realization she was never meant to complete you. And you were never meant to shrink for her. This is individuation, not the killing of love, but the burial of false selfhood. You stop being the boy who begs. You stop being the man who performs. You stop being the ghost who haunts the memory of what could have been. Instead, you become something else, something quiet, something whole. But the ego doesn't like wholeness. It liked the drama. It liked the confusion. It liked the story of a man who was chasing something so elusive, so divine, that he didn't have to face the emptiness inside himself. Because that's the real story here, isn't it? This woman, the one Jung warned us about, she wasn't a villain. She was a placeholder, a beautifully constructed myth to protect you from the deeper pain of your own inner vacancy. The woman who made you feel almost enough was protecting you from asking the real question, why don't I feel worthy when I'm alone? Jung said we must hold the tension of the opposites. You wanted love. You feared abandonment. You sought union. You were terrified of merging. You craved her soul. You resisted your own. It was never about her. It was about your inability to sit with your own silence, to sit with the parts of you that feel unseen, unchosen, unwanted. Because that's the truth no one wants to say aloud. You didn't stay because she was extraordinary. You stayed because she made you feel like the version of you you've always doubted. The needy, the soft, the insecure was finally being tested. And you thought, if I can just win her love, I'll finally be enough. But enough is not earned. It is remembered. You were always enough. You just forgot. She didn't break you. She revealed the cracks. And now you finally see them. You've stepped back. You've untangled the threads. You've seen the projection, the fantasy, the game. And yet, there's still grief. Don't run from it. Let yourself mourn. Not for her, but for the version of you that loved from emptiness. The man who waited for replies, adjusted his edges, censored his pain, and convinced himself that longing was love. He was not weak. He was wounded. And today, he is released. No more apologizing for your depth. No more negotiating your worth. No more contorting into someone digestible. You are no longer chasing symbols. You are integrating the truth. The Anima, the inner feminine, is not your enemy. She is your compass. But only once she is seen, named, honored, not projected. She lives inside you. She is not in her silence. She is not in her mystery. She is not in her chaos. She is in your creativity, your dreams, your intuition, your tenderness, your vision. She is not the woman who ghosts you. She is the whisper you ignored when you became obsessed with being chosen. You see, the moment you take back your anima, the moment you stop outsourcing your soul to strangers wearing familiar faces, you begin to wake up, not into power, but into peace. And peace is the one thing she never gave you, because peace can't be seduced. It can't be chased. It can only be embodied. You are not a chaser anymore. You are not a victim. You are not a boy wondering why she didn't choose you. You are the man who has chosen himself. Jung would say, you've stepped out of the collective trance, the spell of illusion, the archetypal trap. And now the world looks different. You don't crave the drama. You don't miss the tension. You don't romanticize the uncertainty. You don't need her to see you. You see you. And that is the ultimate integration. When the one woman you were meant to avoid becomes the mirror you needed to remember who you are. There is no enemy now, only wisdom. There is no revenge, only release. And there is no longing, only liberation. So if you're here, still holding on, still asking, what if? Let this be your invitation to close the chapter. You were not meant to shrink into a version of yourself for someone who couldn't recognize your depth. You were meant to awaken it, for you. She was never your destination. She was your detour back home. And now that you're here, you don't chase, you don't wait, you don't beg, you build. You build a life so whole, so still, so deeply rooted in truth, that the only thing you're seduced by is your own peace, The story is over. The spell is broken. The mirror has been shattered. Now you walk forward, not to find her, but to meet you. The one woman you should avoid was never out there. She was always the part of you that forgot. You are already whole. And nothing, no absence, no silence, no rejection, can take that away.